our signal dropped out. Test 1, 2. My microphone's almost gone out too. We're challenged tonight. Anyway, welcome to the Satsang. We're sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a direct transmission of divine grace and consciousness that catalyzes awakening in the heart to oneness with the divine and with all that is and with each other. You're receiving it right now, so if you like it, if you enjoy it, please join us. Just let the divine know you'd like the Flowering Heart Blessing to flow through you, and you are initiated. It's just that easy because you're already soaking in it. And the divine told us you receive this blessing once, and you're fully initiated and activated to be able to share it with others. And now I'm going to try to find out where it went. Okay, well, there you go. We're up for the time being.
There we go.
Wow. Okay, and I'm going to have to go back to the other website. There we go. Ooh. You watching this?
Yeah.
In real time, things are very strange on our internet connection through Facebook. But we will carry on. So, we open it at this time to questions and answers about the spiritual journey, about awakening, divine union, reincarnation, meditation, anything having to do with the spiritual journey. And that's your contribution, is to look inside and ask yourself if there's a question you might pose that would stimulate our conversation tonight and nudge the divine to inspire us with clarity and insight. It always seems to happen. And we're going to give you a few minutes to look inside and ask that still small voice, is there something I should contribute by asking tonight? Also, please, if you're on Facebook Live, give us a like or a love. We would appreciate a heart or a thumbs up. And if you're on Vimeo, you've got to enter a You've got to enter a You need to enter a comment in the chat. And I think we're back up across the board.
It's saying live now, so we're good.
I know.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. While we wait to see what the Spirit puts in your heart, I saw, Tristan, your questions, and we'll come back to those in a few minutes. I like to read some quotes from a website called inspiringquotes.com. A group of authors writes brief articles on really pertinent subjects and then offers quotes that they've gathered from inspired teachers and philosophers and others. So tonight I have 13 helpful quotes about managing anger. And this is the articles by Paula Bennett, who's a writer based in Brooklyn, New York. She writes a fortnightly newsletter that treasures the mundane, called Small Histories. And you can find her on Instagram at Paula Bennett, spelled Paolafbennet, like you got that, right? Goodness. Okay, so here's the little article about managing anger, and then we'll dive into the quotes. It can come on slowly, building up like smoke in a kitchen, or all at once, like a kettle screaming. However it reaches us, anger is an inevitable part of life. Most of us are probably familiar with concepts like anger management and road rage. And we've likely seen images of red-faced cartoon characters with steam coming out of their ears. Despite its negative reputation, anger can be a helpful emotion. It may be as an alert, when our boundaries have been crossed, when we've been hurt by someone, or when we've just flat out had enough. If we continually repress our anger, it may crystallize into resentment. That said, it's important for us to release our anger in healthy ways, rather than to lash out and let it control us. Studies have shown that excessive anger can make us more impulsive, negatively impact our memory, and even render us more vulnerable to chronic illness. Instead of venting our anger through aggression, such as yelling or breaking things, it's better, scientifically speaking, to give ourselves space through something such as meditation, journaling, or yoga. If we sit with our anger and hone in on its source, we'll likely be able to manage it more easily and effectively. And for those of us who are unsure where to start, these quotes can help us approach and channel our anger differently. Here's the first one. Anger is just anger. It isn't good. It isn't bad. It just is. What you do with it is what matters. You can use it to build or to destroy. You just have to make the choice. Jim Butcher. Anger. All right. Anger is a valid emotion. It's only bad when it takes control and makes you do things you don't want to do. Ellen Hopkins. Your anger is like a flower. In the beginning, you may not understand the nature of your anger or why it's come up. But if you know how to embrace it with the energy of mindfulness, it will begin to open. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master. If we can stay with the anger long enough, we will see it change into something else. Hurt, sadness, some other feeling, or even dissolve. What had seemed so solid breaks down, is transformed. The key lies in staying with the experience through all its changes. Tara Bennett Goldman. You should be angry. You must not be bitter. Bitterness is like cancer. It eats upon the host. So use that anger. You write it, you paint it, you dance it, you march it, you vote it, you do everything about it, you talk it. Never stop talking it. Maya Angelou. Expressing anger is necessary. Jenny Holzer. It is wise to direct your anger toward problems, not people. To focus your energies on answers, not excuses. William Arthur Ward. When angry, count 4. When very angry, swear. Mark Twain. I like that one particularly. The thing to do is to grab the broom of anger and drive off the beast of fear. Zora Neale Hurston. When anger spreads in your breast, guard against an idly barking tongue. Sappho. Where there is anger, there is always pain underneath. Eckhart Tolle. My anger is trying to tell me something. Anger always carries information. but its message is seldom immediately clear. Befriending anger includes finding ways to retrieve this message. Evelyn Eaton Whitehead and James D. Whitehead. Anger is like a full hot horse who, being allowed his way, self-mettle tires him. William Shakespeare. So, anger is such a powerful emotion, and when we've discussed it in the past in the Satsang, I've gotten a lot of very strong responses from people that it is always destructive and negative. Well, always is a big word, but anger, as Paula said, is part of the palette of human emotions. It's just there, and it will come up in our lives. And so it's not good, it's not bad, it's how we manage it, what we do with it. If all we do is say anger is bad and we seek to control it and repress it, over time it transforms into bitterness. It's not the anger that eats up your soul, it's the bitterness that is generated by anger. And anger is generated by hurt. But a dear friend of mine, the monk and Trappist abbot Thomas Keating, said that anger is a very positive emotion that empowers us to confront injustice or something that is wrong. So it's all how we use that energy. And I like that approach that this particular article took. Of course, I think Mark Twain fully understood it when he said, if you're mad, count to 4. If you're really mad, swear. But the point is you've got to get it out. And in a way that's not destructive or harmful to yourself or to others. And the more we repress it, the more we bottle it up, the more we hold it in, and the more bitter we become, the more explosive it tends to be when it finally is released. And then we're sorry. You want to add anything to that?
Nope.
Okay. Well, according to this, we're still here. Oh, these are going to be some interesting issues. Okay, so Tristan has several questions tonight. Can you give me a teaching? This isn't the first one. Hang on. I'm going to go read it off the previous screen that went offline. You just have to wait and listen. Okay, I think they're all mixed up tonight. It's just really interesting. All right, never mind. I can't get it off the old screen either. Very strange. Okay. Well, Tristan's first question. You see what's happening?
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, the first question is now showing as the third one. I'm going to take that first. Is it wrong to want to learn siddhis, yogic siddhis? Can you give examples of people attaining them for good? Sure. I can. What are siddhis, first of all? Well, Siddha Yoga is a whole branch of yoga. But the siddhis themselves are yogic powers or spiritual powers that are generated through the practice of yoga. And they involve a number of different things like levitation, flying, bilocation, traveling to other worlds. The siddhis sound very romantic and attractive to a lot of us when we get involved in the yoga tradition. Is it wrong to want to learn siddhis? No. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and I'm no expert in the TM movement, even though I'm initiated and have practiced TM. As the years went by, he began to teach the siddhis to practitioners of TM as a way of positively using the divine energy that they were tapping into through transcendental meditation. And it was being guided by a very accomplished and very awakened master. So, in that sense, it could be viewed as positive. A great yogi of the Siddha Yoga tradition was Swami Muktananda. His teacher, Swami Nityananda, is considered a great saint, a Siddha Yogi saint in India. And they had various siddhis, but one of the primary ones that so many people experienced was to be able to give people Shaktipat, the gift of awakening people's kundalini and causing it to unfold at some of the higher levels. Okay. That said, are we seeking powers or are we seeking union with God? And I think that's a very distinctive. I came to what do you call it?
Crossroad?
It was a crossroads, yeah.
Fork in the road?
A fork, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the fork in the road. And one way was divine union, and the other way was knowledge and power. Sort of using the relationship that I had growing with the divine to develop powers and knowledge and all of that. And I made a very, very powerful and decisive shift in my life to take that path to the right of surrender to the divine and divine union. The pursuit of power can sometimes be a great obstacle to spiritual awakening, enlightenment, divine union. I'll tell you just a little story. And I'm telling this secondhand, so if I don't get all the details right, you know better than me, that's fine. You'll get the idea. We have a friend, an old friend, who was a personal senior disciple of Papaji. Papaji was one of the senior, if not the senior, student of Ramana Maharshi, the great God-realized yogi that has touched so many lives. Papaji carried on the teaching, and a very great recognized spiritual teacher in India. And he told our friend the story that he was informed that there was a great Siddha in India, a Siddha yogi that had all of the siddhis. Sometimes people would have a few, but this guy had all of the siddhis that are described in the Vedas, operational in his life. And so Papaji set out to meet him. And that's a whole story in itself, how he eventually finds this guy. And he says, "So is it true? Do you have all the siddhis?" And he said, "Oh, yes, I do." And Papaji basically, who was a very enlightened teacher already himself, said, "Show me." So the Siddha begins to show Papaji all these amazing feats, things that his practice of yoga and meditation had given him, these seemingly magical spiritual yogic abilities. And after a very impressive show, Papaji said, "Well, let me ask you another question. Do you have mukti? Are you fully liberated?" And the Siddha was humble and honest, and he said, "Actually, no." And Papaji said, "Would you like to be fully liberated and have mukti?" And he said, "Why, yes, I would." And in the twinkling of an eye, Papaji grabbed the Siddha yogi's staff. Now, this staff was passed down from master to disciple. and it was the symbol of the embodiment of the powers and the cities that had been passed on from his master to him. And Papaji grabbed the staff and he broke it in two and tossed it in the Ganges. And of course, the Siddha was horrified. I mean, this was the most sacred object in his possession, was his master's staff, and it was the symbol of his yogic powers and cities. And Papaji said, okay, here's the deal. If you really want to be free, then surrender your powers and live as an ordinary human being, and then maybe you'll attain mukti. So in that case, the obsession, the focus on yogic powers was actually the obstacle to this man's final liberation. So thought I should share that.
It's always interesting to ask, why would I want this? And I feel like if we have gifts or special abilities or traits that might be considered supernatural, that if I need it in this lifetime, that it will come to me and it will be presented. I get downloads sometimes when I'm dreaming that help me integrate certain difference of reality. And I feel like if we grow closer to the divine spirit, then whatever gifts we need to serve the greater good will be given to us.
Absolutely. So we're not at all against spiritual gifts, you know, and we have them, you know, operating in our lives, but that is not our focus. That's not what we're seeking. And the divine gives us whatever God feels we might need to serve the divine dharma.
Right.
And to help the people we've been entrusted with. So that's what that's about. And then Tristan also asks, are there Native American Indian people, I am Canadian Plains Cree Indian, who are like Siddha saints that you know of? Much love from Toronto, Canada, and my eye surgery for cataracts went well. Congratulations.
Nice.
I knew it would. Okay, I'm not at all an expert in Native American spirituality, so I'm not the person to say. I do know in my spirit that there are Native American medicine people, the great healers and shamans of various tribes and native indigenous peoples that have tremendous spiritual power flowing through them. And so, yes, in a way, they're like the Siddha saints that we've heard about in India. It's so difficult to know who is pure and saintly and who's just a person of power, seeking power, which is often a side trip, if not a main trip, for a lot of people involved in shamanism and indigenous spiritualities. There are many who are people of power that are seeking, and then I can't speak to the purity of their intentions or their hearts. There are some that are just totally given to the Great Spirit and to the earth, and are just selfless, loving servants of the Great Spirit. I can ask around. I think I know how to get in touch with you through Facebook, and I'll see if I can find out. But I'm sorry, I can't make that discernment. I want to say, yes, there are definitely Native American indigenous people like this, but I don't know them personally, and I couldn't give you a referral. Tristan's third question, can you give me a teaching about prosperity consciousness? Why are some people born richer than others? And why do some people end up poor but rich in spiritual merit? Why are some saints rich materialistic, like Osho? Those are several questions, okay? And it did definitely elicit a response from John. I wondered if you were awake out there. Anyway, John, in your usual straight up, he ends saying, sorry for being so blunt, but John said, and not everyone agrees with him at all on this, but okay, John said Osho was a nutcase who wasted millions of people's money and years of their lives, who eventually deported from the U.S. Sorry for being so blunt. Okay, I hear you, and I know people that knew and lived with Osho for years and were deeply transformed and still have the great respect for him. Controversial figure. I think at one point he owned 50 Rolls Royces while living in the American Northwest. And yeah, it's like, why does an enlightened master need so many Rolls Royces? I don't know. I didn't know him, and I'm not going to judge him. But let's get away from the Osho question and controversy. He definitely tapped into divine prosperity. So why do some people, why are they born richer than others? Well, karma. In a word, karma. And in a third word, karma. I mean, we come into this lifetime and we reap the benefits and also the need to purge certain things that karma we've accrued in previous lives. So some people are perfectly positioned to come into this life just wide open to prosperity. On the other hand, you could be born into tremendous prosperity, and that could be a curse, because you could be obsessed with, Christ wasn't against money or prosperity at all. He shared with everyone. He said the love of money is the root of all evil. Lusting after money, he said you can't serve God and wealth at the same time. So it's not, that's why your question is just so multi-layered, because maybe someone came into this life rich so that they could use their wealth to actually help people and help the world. Maybe another person, maybe even in the same family, was born into the same fortune, and they're here to purge their materialism and their bondage to material things so they can be spiritually free. Why are some people end up poor but rich in spiritual merit? Well, Christ said it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Not impossible, just hard. See, because people that have great possession and great wealth often can't let go of it. They're attached, and that attachment keeps them from being fully free. So when we look at the lives of a lot of the great saints, like Buddha, okay, like Christ and his disciples, like St. Francis of Assisi and others, so many have been wandering, poor monks with no possessions except their spiritual riches. Well, in some respects, for them to not be concerned with material possessions meant they could focus their lives entirely on the spiritual journey and the service of the divine without complications. Okay, that worked great for them. But then there are some other very, very poor people who don't turn out to be saints, and they're just caught in this survival and this deep desire for money and more possessions and more wealth. And so poverty doesn't make you holy. But holiness doesn't necessarily make you rich or poor. Everyone's path in this world is unique and guided by your own dharma, your own chosen path that the divine has ordained for you. And so Mother Teresa, there was a poor one who was a saint, a very great being. She said, if you're a pauper, if you're in the street, don't seek to live in the palace. And if you're royalty and you're living in the palace, don't divest yourself and go live in the street as a pauper to try to become holy. Serve God wherever you are. In whatever circumstance you are, receive the perfection of that, because you just look at the outside and you go, this person's rich and this person's poor. The rich person's, got better karma, the poor person, and it's not true. There are rich people with great karma. Saint Louis the 14th, he was a lay Franciscan, a member of the Third Franciscan Order, and he would go out in the street every night and in disguise, and he would take street people, poor people, and he'd bring them back to the king's palace and seat them at his table and share his food with them. So there was a guy that was fantastically powerful and rich, and his whole motive was to help the poor, to help the suffering. So see, it's just not quite that simple.
Right.
So there's actually a verse somewhere in the Bible that says, "Don't give me so much, God, that I forget you. And don't give me so little that I curse you." So, there's balance in this. So that's kind of my answer. Anything you want to add to it?
No, I think that gratitude, we can ask all kinds of why questions. Why is life this way? Why is life that way? But sometimes it can just be a distraction from our spiritual path. And if we want to figure out the whys instead of the how do I grow more prosperous? How do I surrender further to the divine presence? How can my life be richer and fuller in divine order and in order and balance with the Tao of everything? It's interesting. This has been coming up a lot, and I think it was a couple months ago that I had this realization about abundance. Some months we're not quite sure how we're going to make everything fit together and how everything is going to be, taken care of. But we always have faith, and we always know that it will be. So I started looking around, and I was thinking, what if we shifted our attention on the concept of abundance? And I just entered into gratitude for our spiritual ministry and the people that are helping us and helping them, and how we're all growing together as a community, and how we're rich in family, and we're rich in being able to have a house and being present. I'm rich in time. I have time to volunteer to bring food to elderly friends and family members, and time to cook and put blessings into that food while I'm cooking. So looking at abundance and prosperity in a different light helps us reframe it to a more service-oriented point of view, instead of, I really wish I had that, or I really want to buy this. Because at the end of the day, those are just material things that, 10 years from now we'll be like, why did I ever get this? But if you have a really good friendship, or you really helped somebody, 10 years later you go back and have a really warm, nice memory about that, and so will the person that you were of service to.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty funny, because I said Louis the 14th. It was Louis the 9th.
Oh.
St. Louis. Yeah. And Yekaterina threw out that about 6 months ago in the Interfaith Communion with the Cosmic Christ, I did a teaching on prosperity. Yeah, go back and listen to that. But first of all, God wants you to have everything you need, and that your heart desires that's good for you. So seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. In another place, Christ said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall people pour into your bosom. With the same measure that you meet in giving to others, it will be multiplied, given back to you again." So there are all, and in the Hebrew scriptures it says, the blessing of the Lord maketh rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. So God is all for bestowing abundance, because how can you feed the poor? How can you help people who have nothing if you don't even have beyond your own basic needs? Problem is, God doesn't want to like trash our spiritual lives by giving us more than we can handle. Another thing is that we may have been programmed in early childhood because our first experience of a higher power was mother and father. So if our parents withheld affection, or our mothers withheld nurturance from us, especially the mother, we would have issues with being able to receive abundance and nurturance from the universe later on, because as a child we got the message that the one who gave birth to me, she was as close to the Divine Mother as I had then, my real mother, and she withheld affection and nurturance from me. That created a message inside that the Divine Mother will withhold nurturance and abundance from me, that the universe is holding back on me. And I might not even remember the specific episodes of early childhood that caused me to make that decision, but it needs to be deprogrammed. It needs to be cleared. And meditation will help to do that. Anything that helps to clear and unload the subconscious or the unconscious will help with that. And we just didn't have time to continue in all this. Yeah, and John throws in at the end, according to the Self-Realization Fellowship, Yogananda believed that Christ came to India in the missing years. I've heard of this theory, but didn't realize Yogananda believed this. Yeah, well, you see, these kinds of things to me are interesting philosophically. They're controversial. Some people have strong beliefs about Christ going to India. Others who have a very powerful relationship with Christ don't feel that way at all. They have a whole other picture of the crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension, which we're about to celebrate in the next 2 weeks. So I could give you my opinion, but fortunately I don't have time. And you probably already know what it is, John. Anyway, so we're just going to leave that one. And people can do your own research. But the most constructive questions are the ones that center on not talking about other people and their controversial reputation or their opinions, but what we're experiencing in our spiritual life are questions about the spiritual journey that apply to us individually or as a group.
It's when we're humble and when we admit our weaknesses and our faults and what we're struggling with that we all grow so much more. It's pretty profound when we can all just come to a level where we say, you know, wow, I had a really bad day and this is what I was feeling, or even I was angry at God, or, you know, I feel disappointed or let down on my spiritual journey. The more introspection that we can do on that, it actually helps everybody else too. That's why Michael and I are so upfront and honest about our spiritual path, because people could tend to look at us and go, oh, you know, they're so spiritual. And at the end of the day, we're all human. and we're all growing, and we're all trying for our hearts to flower. And so the more that we share our struggles and our miracles and our burdens and that kind of thing, the more that we can grow through these satsangs.
And it's great to see you too, Milan. Our love to you. He weighed in early, but we wrapped up into those questions. So, if you would close your eyes now and invoke the divine presence, we're going to take a strong intention for the Flowering Heart blessing to flood everyone here and everyone who views this video, to free you from the illusion of separation from the divine source, which is the root of all suffering. That illusion of distance and separation. And it is an illusion, it's a delusion of the mind. This divine presence wants to awaken you. Open your heart and flood it with light. So receive. Drink it in. Breathe it in. This light that is shining within you, it is within you and all around you, above you, below you, and all around you. It's everywhere. This presence is pure love. It yearns to awaken and free you and flood you with unconditional love. To clear your mind, your soul, wrong thinking, negative emotions, programming, to fill your soul with divinely inspired feelings and ideas. It's shining out from your heart, through your mind and emotions, flooding your physical body with healing grace. Receive it. Shining out into your relationships to heal them and set them right. The presence knows what you need. Just receive. Drink it in. Soak it up. Now when you're ready, open your eyes. Make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep gazing at least one of our eyes as we dive into light meditation. This meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of grace, light, and love. It pours through our whole being to you, especially through our eyes, the doorways of the soul. All we need to do is just keep looking and receiving. The light streams out of our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart of hearts, causing the light of awakening, the fires of divine love to blaze brighter, brighter. meditating as long as it feels right to you. Or you could find a place to lie down in Shavasana. Shavasana is a yoga pose where you just lie comfortably on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely to your sides and your palms open. And just let yourself dissolve in the presence of gratitude.
Much love, light, and blessings.
We love you very much. These times are very precious. And we look forward to seeing you again. Until then, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you. And we bow to you. Namaste.
Namaste.